You want to write a book but fear it'll take too long? Or you've already started and it's taking longer than you thought? How do you write your book faster? In this video, I'll share the surprising secret of how you can write your book faster by someone who hasn't even written a book. Plus, I'll share 7 things you can do today to make that happen. The obvious way to write your book faster is to type faster, but I think we both know that's not going to make a lot of difference. The second obvious way is to spend more time writing, but this is not always possible and doesn't always produce better results. The big challenge here is that the longer it takes to write the book, the more likely you are not to finish it. Plus, it just takes longer to get the rewards from your book. But the opposite is also true. If you write your book too fast and it's not of the quality that you want, then it actually may not give you the rewards you want either. A poorly written book may do more harm to your reputation than no book at all. Just like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, you can write your book too slow, too fast, but also just right. Surprisingly, the best strategy for how to write your book faster comes from 8 times gold medalist, Olympic sprint champion Usain Bolt. Now, as far as I know, he hasn't written any books, but at his peak, he was the fastest man in the world. His 2 pet events, the 100 meters and the 200 meters, were raced over seconds. One took 10 seconds, the other took 20 seconds. So there's only so many things you can do when you're racing over such a short period of time to improve your performance. It's not like you can check your shoelaces are undone while you're hurtling down the track. And it's a bit late to give yourself a pep talk when you've only got seconds from the gun going off to reaching the finish line. Bolt's secret, as all elite athletes know, is that it's what happens off the field that makes him run faster. Think about that relative to your book. The secret to writing your book faster comes from what you're doing when you're not writing your book. Do you need a moment to take all that in? This is the 4th and final part of a series on the game plan for authors. It's based on my book, The Done Game Plan. And that's based on the 4 universal principles of all games. You need to know how to win. You need to know what the score is to maintain your motivation. You need rules to keep you focused. And you need to take the right actions to win. And there are 2 types of right actions. The first is the on-field actions. That's Usain Bolt running down the track. And the second are the off-field actions. That's everything else Usain Bolt does to help him run faster. If you want to write your book faster, then this is how you must think about it. What are the on-field actions you're going to take, and what are the off-field actions you're going to take to write your book faster? Now, here are my top 7 writing tips for writing your book faster. I think I'm dyslexic with my fingers, maybe. I'll share the tips first, and then we can review them to see which ones are on-field actions and which ones are off-field actions. And most of these examples have come from my book, Weekly Done. One of the big reasons that I have 25 unfinished books on my computer is because I chose the wrong type of book to write. But when I wrote the right type of book for me, I was able to work in my strengths and finish 10 books. That's like running downhill with the wind behind you. For instance, A Home Office You Love is the story of the design coach, which was me, talking to a potential client and working them through a 7-part framework so they could map out their perfect home office. I wrote the entire first draft in 2 weeks, from 0 to hero. For more on this, check out the video, 18 different ways to write a book. Is writing a book a sprint or a marathon? Bit of a trick question. I think it's both. Your daily writing is best done as short sprints or bursts. And you need to stick at it for long enough to actually finish it, which might take months or even a year. Now that's a marathon. My personal favourite strategy for doing short bursts of work is the Pomodoro technique. And this 2-minute video that I produced 5 years ago tells you all you need to do to start working in short bursts. I promise you, train yourself on this and you'll get more done in less time. One of my all-time favourite books is Deep Work by Cal Newport, and I talked about this in this video. And one thing Cal talks about in his book is 4 different ways that you can design your work to write your book. The first one is 1-hour chunks. If you're really stuck for time and you're on a tight schedule, stealing 1 hour here, there and everywhere could make the difference for writing your book. But beware, this is not a strategy for beginners. It's hard to get up to speed in only an hour unless you're a true professional. The second one is to work at the same time every day. This is the one most people use. They get up first thing in the morning and they write for 1 or 2 hours. Easy peasy. The third one is to do a split week. In the first half of your week, you do all of your client, business, work commitments, and then you're free for the second half of the week to write your book in clear time. And number 4 is monthly, which is probably an ideal scenario we all want, but much harder to create. So think Hemingway hibernating in his log cabin with no distractions. Which is more valuable? Time, energy, or attention? Most people think it's time because time is a limited resource. But have you ever had the time but not the energy to do the thing you wanted? And have you ever had the time and the energy but just can't focus to get things done? In my view, attention is more important than energy and more important than time. And the key to training your attention is to practice meditation and practice mindfulness. I write better when I'm calm and clear in the head. You might too. On the surface, this one doesn't make sense. To write your books faster, take more breaks. But the latest neuroscience points to the reason why it does work. You might have heard that there's 2 sides to the brain, but probably not the 2 you're thinking of. There is the uptime brain, which is all about task-focused work, which is you sitting at the computer tapping away at your keyboard. That's task-focused. The second is the downtime brain, and this is when you've switched off specific tasks and you're generally just wandering and letting your brain do its thing. I get some of my best ideas when I go for a long walk in between my writing stints, because the brain is able to connect the dots between what I've been thinking about. Too much uptime brain will dull your creativity and reduce the level of insight that you have about what you're writing. This is one reason why writing more may not write your book faster or produce a better result. This is the classic example of off-field preparation. Imagine trying to write your book when you're full up with a cold and spluttering with a cough and you're really feeling very lethargic. That's not going to be your best work, is it? Elite athletes like Usain Bolt spend a lot of time training in the gym, doing stretching, getting massaged, talking to their mental coach, eating the right foods, and looking after their sleep. Their training is all focused towards being at their best on game day. What do you need to write at your best? The key to elite performance is not to have a random blinding performance. Usain Bolt is a champion because he was the fastest man in the world for at least 8 years. That takes a lot of habits to drive that level of consistent high performance. Think about what you need to write your book. Then look at how you can turn them into habits. Okay, so there's my 7 best examples for how to write your book faster. Now let's just review them and see which ones are on-field actions and which ones are off-field actions. Write the right book. Is that on field or off field? I think it's off field because you do it before you do any writing. Number 2, sprint versus marathon. A sprint is definitely on field. This is you writing your book. But the marathon part of it is how do you maintain your motivation over a long period of time? And that happens when you're not writing your book. So that's off field. The 4 best ways to work. I think that's off field because that's all about structuring and planning when you will work. Pay attention. The big part of this is the training in the background that has you be calm and clear when you write. But there's also being mindful while you're writing. So that one's both. Take a break. This one is mostly off field. But sometimes when I'm walking, taking a break, I'm actually pulling out my transcription app on my phone and I'm adding notes. Bring your H game. This one's easy. It's the classic off-field action. And build writing habits. This one again is both. You need to develop your habits, which often is when you're not writing, but you actually need to practice and reinforce them when you are writing. The big lesson here is best captured by the book I named as my book of the year way back in 2011, Obliquity by John Kay. The surprising subtitle of the book is Why Our Goals Are Best Achieved Indirectly. And his chapter titles highlight the key ideas. How the happiest people do not pursue happiness. How the most profitable companies are not profit orientated. And how the wealthiest people are not materialistic. The same applies here. The key to writing your book faster is not to type faster. And it's not to spend more hours writing. Like Usain Bolt, the key to writing your book faster is all of the things you do when you're not writing. This has been the 4th and final video in the series of Game Plan for Authors. It's been based on my latest book, The Done Game Plan. In the next video, I'll share the book trailer video for that book. It'll show you how you can promote your book when you've finished writing it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.